Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm your host, Michael, aka Hands and Feet from HeHasAnswers.com, and we are dropping truth bombs in the battle of the mind. Tonight, we're going to be looking at how social media, all the big names, Google, YouTube, Facebook, even your beloved Pinterest, is actually being used to push the agenda towards a one world government, a globalist Marxist society where all of our freedoms are going to be drastically imposed upon, and it's not going to be good. And this is just it's a big warning call for everyone to get on board, start looking at what's going on, and start sharing that information. You can do things, once you've shared the information, once you're getting educated on what's going on and looking at the actual evidence, okay? Digging in deep, being critical thinkers here. Then you can be sharing, talking to your friends, trying to have peaceful conversations to, just show them what's going on, but also getting more involved politically, back up candidates that you think and are actually going to have our best interests at heart, and and be prepared for the worst case scenario. That's really what it's all about. So far we looked at the reality that the most powerful, influential people in this world, they're not all good. In fact, lots of them seem to be really evil and despicable. We looked at the hard evidence that there are pedophile sex rings all over the world in every major power playing nation, and these people involve themselves. And because that's true, we know that they're probably not good people that want to take care of us when they get together and plot out what direction the world should go in, and what they tell our governments, who they have so much influence over, how things should be. We looked at the reality that the same agenda points that the Soviet Union was using to subvert all Western free nations so that they could take control from within by changing the education, changing the media, changing how movies and television and everything is done in terms of messaging. We saw that from a former FBI agent who'd done the research and put out these 45 points back in 1958, and how most of those points have already been achieved. And we've seen that an ex-KGB agent named Yuri Bezmenov, who specialized in propaganda in selling the Soviet Union to the West, had defected from his post in India so that he could be free. And he's been warning people for the last 50 years. We looked at an interview from the early 80s, I believe it was, and how even though the Soviet Union fell, the masters over this huge system, just under a different guise, a different disguise, are now pushing the same thing, because their goal is to have a Marxist, socialist, one-world government where all the nations are under control of this one government, and then the most powerful people are then puppeteering that government, and they're able to, push out all of the financial competition, because those entities just don't have the wealth and the power to stand up against it, and they will then have more and more control. And that's really a lot of what they're all about: money, greed, control, power, bragging rights. It's awful. It's disgusting. And we looked at the reality that the recent gun ban in Canada was about disarming people for this upcoming situation. And so we have to resist that, hold on to our guns, and we have to resist it in the court of public opinion as well as the judicial courts, and we have to be resisting it through the House of Parliament, or our parliamentary processes in the House of Commons. And we can't give in to that. It's game over after that. And then we also looked at We also looked at, well, last time was the reality that the news, the mainstream media, owned by 6 major media corporate companies, and they all share the same philosophies. They're all pushing the same agenda. And we saw very clearly that many black people are coming out warning us that Black Lives Matter is actually a Marxist entity that's being funded by the globalists, like George Soros, for one example, as well as Antifa is being used too. And they're just being pushed by the media and given all of this airtime in order to further unrest and division between people groups, when we should all really just be united, because they want destabilization, so that it warrants more and more control and eventually complete control. We also saw that Black Lives Matter believes in things like doing away with traditional family values and structure, being the nuclear family, and that we need to evolve into more communal families. We also saw their founders actually admit that they were Marxists, and that was the ideology that was pushing everything. And we also saw that some of their points within their own literature line up completely with the 45 points from the communist agenda we've looked at. And yeah, it was really startling. We saw that one of their big primary kind of catalysts for their formation was the Trayvon Martin case, where unfortunately a young 17-year-old guy got shot. But the reality behind that was Trayvon Martin was dealing drugs, selling guns. He just broke up with his girlfriend of a few months and was very angry, and saw Zimmerman, who had come out to try and see, why is this guy lurking around our neighborhood? And it was not at all what the media was telling us. And Zimmerman was being beaten to death, and he only shot once. And he, tragically, Trayvon Martin got killed. But sadly, that's what happens when you become a criminal, is there are consequences. And that whole narrative was spun to make it look like he was this innocent young boy just carrying Skittles and an Arizona iced tea, when really he had been calling around trying to find out where he could get codeine so that he could dissolve codeine and mix it up with his iced tea and his Skittles in order to make lean, which is drank, in some circles and glorified in different rap songs and whatnot. So here we are, guys. We're going to talk tonight about social media. And I forgot last time to include a couple of media sources. I gave a whole list of media that I think people should be ingesting, looking at in order to weigh what is true, what's false, because so much of what we're getting is just from the one side, the progressive leftists. We're not even talking about people who are just liberal. We're talking people who have a hardcore agenda to radically transform the world. And a lot of people who consider themselves liberal don't even know that the rug's getting swept out from underneath them, and they are not going to like where this thing goes. Here we are. So one of those people was Tom Quiggin. Tom Quiggin is a Canadian court-certified expert on terrorism. He's got a huge wealth of experience in the intelligence sector. He's been in the military. He's worked at the RCMP. He's been all over. And so he just has a great understanding of what's going on. He's got a Twitter. He puts out a podcast called The Quiggin Report, and it is absolutely eye-opening, and it's gut-wrenching. Oh, and yeah, please do share this. Please share this. Like, people need to weigh this for themselves. Don't worry about looking foolish. I stream this right to my own public Facebook profile. I'm not some social media persona. Like, I'm just a guy. And so I know people in high school on my Facebook probably think what I'm putting out is crazy, but I'm putting it out because I love them and I love everybody, and I know Canada is going in a horrible trajectory, as well as all of the Western nations, and I just hope people see the truth. So don't be afraid, be of good courage, and share this also. So we've got his Quiggin report. He's on Twitter as well. He's got a Facebook page that you can check out. That's the trouble with having my own personal profile on Facebook open, is stuff like that pops up. And of course, they've also got all of their podcasts shipped over to YouTube in Possibly Correct Media. So yeah, check all that stuff out. I also want to show you guys, because we just, today we're going to be talking about social media and censorship, really. So here is my first video down the rabbit hole, 1.4 thousand views. Next one, 631 views. Next one, 685 views. 595 views. 882 views. 1.2 thousand views. And then here we go. This is where I talked about COVID-19 a little bit, just a little bit. Black Lives Matter and the media being a propaganda arm. 261 views. And my internet was also going crazy awful, and I had to stop and restart the stream. I gained an additional 224 views. So that's about a total of 440 or so. So it really seemed odd to me that was happening, and I can only suspect. I mean, I'm a nobody, but I think maybe it's probably just the algorithms, Facebook's AI, detecting keywords and what I'm talking about or whatever, and then doing what it can to make it so that the message is not going out. It's also possible some of the public groups in the community I live in saw what I was posting and said, we're not letting that happen, which is disgusting, because these are groups that call themselves anything goes or everything goes groups, meaning whatever you want to post, talk about it. Who cares? Because really, they're selling ad space by charging people to advertise on the banner up top or whatever. So that's that. And then, again, here's another source for media that you should really check out. They get a lot of flack. They're considered far-right radical. But friends, when media has pushed so far to the left, there's got to be a counterswing. There's got to be someone balancing that out. And Breitbart is it, and you can take it with a grain of salt by all means, but the stuff they put out is good. And so this article that just came out today, Facebook, Google, YouTube, Twitter censor viral video of doctors at Capitol Hill doing a coronavirus press conference. So I posted about this. I posted about this yesterday. Within a couple hours, it was taken down. So, I hate how Facebook pops up all those stupid tabs. So annoying. So fortunately, someone watched it with their phone live, and then they posted it. So it looks like, I don't know, some random YouTube video or whatever. They might have did that to try and
they're trying. Guess what?
Oh, okay. Maybe that's his intro song. I don't know. But anyways, so then you got the whole video here, or most of it anyways. But friends, you've got doctors coming out of the woodworks all across the world saying something is up with the coronavirus scenario. Okay? They're not quacks. They're real doctors. And just because there's this supposed consensus doesn't mean anything. And you've got to ask yourself, are they really censoring videos like this because they care about you and they want you to be safe and healthy and make sure you go along with all the directives so that we can flatten the curve and do away with COVID? Or is there something else going on? And when we watch, and when we do our episode on COVID in a couple weeks, you're going to see this is such a fraud. Yes, people have been sick. Yes, people sadly have died, but the numbers are being blown way out of proportion. They're counting people that have not died of COVID, but of anything, and then tested positive apparently with COVID in order to inflate the numbers. Why? They want you afraid. They want you giving up all of your freedoms. And so, I've got friends saying, well, hey, if you love people, don't worry about it. Just wear the mask and just do what they say. And it's like, you don't understand. This isn't about personal autonomy. It is for some people. They're like, this is my body. I'm free. You can't make me wear a mask. I think that's kind of ignorant because sure, fine, no one can make you wear a mask, but if something's actually deathly, well then, do your best not to make other people sick. But what's going on is they're not doing this because of the safety and the health issues. Hey, how's it going? Oh, bye followers. Oh my gosh, awesome. I just got some spam on one of my channels I'm streaming to. So awful. Anyways, yeah, they're not doing this for our health. They're doing this because they want to perpetuate fear to get people to go along with this agenda, because the agenda is actually all about control. And you're going to see that in a couple weeks. And if you start digging now, you're going to see how real that is. And it's shocking. So let's watch this video, because this dude Anomaly, who I've seen probably about 20 of his videos over the last few years. And, it's amazing. Like, as he came to know more and more of the truth, like asking questions like, what's going on in the world? This doesn't make sense. This doesn't fit. Huge, awesome changes happened in his life, I do believe. And now he's on the right path. He's seeing truth, and he knows truth, and he's figuring things out. So here's his thing. It's 14 minutes and 52 seconds, but we're going to watch that, talking about this video.
So some of America's frontline doctors had a white coat summit in Washington, D.C. to talk about the things they disagreed with the media and how the government's been handling the pandemic. It was blowing up on Facebook with over 14 million views until Facebook took it down. And then President Trump actually shared the video on his Twitter account. And then Twitter took it down. So what's going on? Why did they do it? And what were the doctors actually saying? Well, it looks like New York Times journalist Kevin Roose was talking about it. And then one of the Facebook communications guys, Andy Stone, said, yes, we removed it for sharing false information about cures and treatments for COVID-19. First, let's just take a quick look at his Twitter. He says he's the alumni from House.
I just wonder for a moment if that guy from the newspaper had direct messaged his friend Andy Stone and said, hey, look, we need some answers about this, so I'm just going to post this, make sure you see it. Or if this guy just happened to see it, I don't know. But anyways.
Majority PAC, which is a Democratic Party PAC working for Democrats, Senator Boxer, a former Democrat, the DCCC, committed to electing, you guessed it, Democrats to the House of Representatives, and Jerry McNerney, of course, a Democrat. Just pointing that out, I'm sure there's no political bias here. So he said he removed it from Facebook for sharing false information about cures and treatments. If you can find the video, watch it for yourself and you can see what you think of it, but I actually listened to the whole thing before they deleted it on Twitter, and I took notes before they deleted it. Some things that stuck out to me is one of the doctors said that they have a web of fear and they're spreading so much fear. Dr. Fauci is, and the mainstream media is. And to me, that's completely true, and there are negative health aspects of fear. I say in almost every video that fear weakens your immune system and it has very negative consequences on your body, so does stress. But I've never heard Dr. Fauci talk about that. I've never heard most mainstream media talk about it. In fact, you can almost guarantee that they absolutely don't care. That's a part of science or health that they just seem to not want to talk about. So when a doctor talks about it on Facebook and it goes viral, delete it. Of course, they won't tell you that that was said in the press conference, but I watched it and it was said, and it is true and it is real, and it's something that they don't want to confront, so they censor as opposed to debate. One of the doctors talked about the school year for kids coming up. He used real data, real facts, real statistics, some of which aren't even debated at all because it's using the data that the government and these major institutions give us, and he made his case for why he thinks kids should go to school. He's not alone in that. Thousands upon thousands of doctors agree with him, and even on MSNBC, they were shocked to find out the doctors that they brought on their own program thought that kids should go to school too. Take a look.
Back to school.
I will. My kids are looking forward to it.
Yes. Period. Absolutely.
Absolutely. As much as I can.
Without a hesitation.
Without a hesitation, yes.
I have no concerns about sending my child to school in the fall.
I would let my kids go back to school.
Dr. John Torres, NBC News.
They all said yes.
A doctor.
Look how upset that guy looked. Why wouldn't you be happy if kids can go back to school if there's no problem? Wouldn't you be glad to be like, holy smokes, wow, okay, well, the doctors are saying it's okay, good, great. You know, no, they're not happy about that.
At the White Coast Summit also pointed out that the LA Teachers Union's demands for trying to send kids back to school has stuff like defunding the police and ending charter school, which has absolutely nothing to do with health, everything to do with their politics, which are Democrat, but really leaning on socialist and communist. Is it about health or is it about politics? Well, don't ask that question because you might be deleted like these doctors. Once again, that was talked about at the summit. They didn't refute it. They couldn't debate it. They didn't deny that it existed. They just deleted the video and told you that all it was fake cures and false information. Right. Perhaps the most controversial and what they were talking about was this specific doctor, which is going viral on many social medias and they can't stop it. I know they wish they could, but they can't. And she was talking about her personal experience as a doctor and saying hydroxychloroquine along with Zithromax and other medications have provided phenomenal results. That's not my opinion. I can't tell you that. I'm not a scientist or a doctor, but that's what she said. I'm just telling you what she said. And we're going to get into some of that in a second. Also at the summit, Dr. Erickson, who also had one of his viral videos deleted earlier this year, was talking about the real negative health consequences of lockdowns. Of course, you can say there's pros and cons, but the media and a lot of these health experts that they love on Facebook and they love on television don't tell you that there's actual real health crises from what's going on. There's suicide rates that are up, there's domestic abuse rates that are up, there's many studies that talk about poor exercise and bad diets are on the rise because of the shutdown. So the point he was making, in short, is that all they mention is the economic downfall from the pandemic and the response to the virus, which is true, but that's not all.
And
there are real
huge
health consequences that come along with it. I've also mentioned how they've had an excess of death in the
fallout from the economic situation we find ourselves in now is going to be massive. And that's part of the agenda, friends. If you can crush the economies of nations, they have no choice but to do whatever the influencers in power say. And they're going to say things like, give up more of your freedoms, join this global whatever, and we'll forgive some of your debts or something, you know, or we'll help you with your debts.
UK. And out of those 8,000 excess deaths indoors when they had the really hard lockdown at the beginning of the pandemic, a majority of them, about 6,000, had nothing to do with COVID-19. So of course they don't want to study that. They don't want to have a debate with these doctors. They just want to silence them, shut them down, say that everything they said was fake, and expect you to believe it, even though of course it's not true. Since editing this video, they deleted it off of YouTube as well, and it looks like they locked Donald Trump Jr. out of his Twitter account just for sharing it. This is absolutely insane censorship. It's disgusting. Once again, these were just some of the things that I heard and took notes about before they deleted the video. I'm not saying that every single thing that the doctor said was true. I don't know. I'm just telling you, I heard a lot of really interesting stuff and a lot of very factual stuff that I can prove with facts, statistics, data, science, and that are completely 100% true, many of which I just mentioned. They love to censor, they love to silence, they love to point out a very small part and make an opinion about it, but they never tell you the whole picture. They delete that picture and say it never existed. So let's document history correctly before they burn more books. So on that note, I think they were really mad about what that one doctor said about hydroxychloroquine. Interestingly enough, in Newsweek this week, a Yale professor of epidemiology said the key to defeating COVID-19 already exists. We need to start using it, hydroxychloroquine. And that opinion piece was published in Newsweek. My question to Andy Stone or any of these Twitter or Facebook execs is, are you going to delete that Newsweek article? Does Newsweek have to take down all their publications? Does this Yale professor of epidemiology need to step down and delete everything he's ever made? Because according to the article, he has authored over 300 peer-reviewed publications and currently holds senior positions on editorial boards of several leading journals. Is he not an expert because he disagrees with Dr. Fauci? Is he not an expert because he disagrees with CNN? Is that how you guys enforce the website now? I'm not sure. If you listen to the news, you would think that nobody on the planet ever disagrees with Dr. Fauci. His word is the word of God, and any expert epidemiologist epidemiologist and doctor, whether it be Frontlines or well-studied person at Yale or Harvard, 100% agrees with him, and disagreeing with him is a mortal sin that will get your YouTube channel deleted. That's the message I get when I listen to them, but I know it's not true because I actually do research, and I read this Newsweek article, Dr. Fauci backed controversial Wuhan lab with US dollars for risky coronavirus research, and in that article, many people disagreed with him, including Tom Inglesby of Johns Hopkins University, Mark Lipsitch of Harvard, and Richard E. Bright of Rutgers. So there's thousands upon thousands of doctors and experts that disagree all the time, which is okay in a normal free society with the First Amendment. But apparently in this new world that Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter want to create, disagreeing with the experts or the television is a mortal sin that can get your video destroyed at any second. One of the things they were mad about was they said you don't need a mask. I guess that's enough to get your video deleted now. Weirdly enough, Dr. Anthony Fauci said that earlier this year in 2020. Take a look.
Now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it? Because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is. And often, there are unintended consequences. People keep fiddling with the mask and they keep touching their face.
And can you get some schmutz sort of staying inside there?
Of course, of course.
And the strangest part to me is that Dr. Anthony Fauci has been in his position since the Reagan era. He's been there for decades. He's been an expert and he's been a leader for literally multiple decades. So despite this being his job for decades, he just figured something out in the last few months that he didn't know in January 2020. Seems a little bit odd to me, but I guess we're supposed to simultaneously believe everything he says and not believe everything he says. If you disagree with the World Health Organization, that's a mortal sin that can get your video deleted. But the World Health Organization has changed their mind back and forth multiple times, including pretty much every month of the pandemic, being way off in their predictions and advice. But that's something that someone else could tell you, because I don't know if I'm qualified to tell you the truth about how not everyone in the science world agrees, and not all of these bureaucratic institutions have an 100% accuracy. Like, for instance, the Lancet Journal had to retract one of their biggest retractions in modern history on hydroxychloroquine. Isn't it weird? Everything revolves around that. All the censorship, all the anger, I guess because maybe President Trump said he likes it and this doctor said they like it, gotta delete their video, have to shut them down. Then why did the Lancet mess up so bad? Could it possibly be that people with a democratic skew hate the president so much and have politicized this pandemic so much that they're willing to go against science, mess up constantly just to try to prove them wrong? I would say that's an exaggeration until you see the New York Times and major publications saying, is protesting dangerous? It depends what you protest. And they, along with their epidemiologist friends, try to make the point that protesting for Black Lives Matter and protesting in Portland and Seattle is somehow okay and acceptable, but protesting the lockdown isn't. So I guess viruses now discriminate on your political preferences. Wow, that's interesting. Andrew Cuomo recently got mad at somebody having a music concert, but he doesn't seem to be mad when 2 times, 3 times as many people are in the streets for his politics. Isn't that just bizarre? Recently, Business Insider published an article that said US coronavirus cases are probably 10 times higher than official numbers. More and more research suggests. If there's more cases than we think there are, that means that the mortality rate is even lower than we think they are, which would actually be a good thing, but good news is not allowed. It's only fear, 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 despite what it does to your immune system and body, and if you disagree with them or question them or do a summit at DC, you're at risk of being deleted, silenced, censored, or framed as some sort of maniac. But committing domestic terrorism in major cities will get you the favor of these same people and these same television news networks. A dozen frontline doctors speaking in Washington, D.C., a threat, delete. Domestic terrorists committing literally domestic terrorism, protesters. They could stay. It's an understatement to say these people have their priorities screwed up, but most people are waking up to that. And before I bore you with my objective news reporting and a more accurate video than most news networks can muster up with a budget that's 1,000 times bigger than mine, listen to one of the media's favorite people, Bill Gates, answer questions from CBS about side effects of the vaccine.
Vaccines sound concerning. We looked. After the second dose, at least 80% of participants experienced a systemic side effect, ranging from severe chills to fevers. So, are these vaccines safe?
Well, the FDA, not being pressured, will look hard at that. The FDA is the gold standard of regulators, and their current guidance on this, if they stick with that, is very, very appropriate. And you know, the side effects were not super severe. That is, it didn't cause permanent health problems for the things there. You know, Moderna did have to go with a fairly high dose, and so you know, to get the antibodies. Some of the other vaccines are able to go with lower doses to get responses that are pretty high, including the J&J and the Pfizer. And so there's a lot of characteristics of these vaccines. It's great that we have multiple of them that are
Bill,
going out there. And yes, I think
you know the data
US
better than I do.
government-
But the data showed that everybody with a high dose had a side effect.
Yeah, but some of that is not dramatic, where, you know, it's just, you know, super painful. But yes, we need to make sure there's not severe side effects. The FDA, I think, will do a good job of that, despite the pressure.
How many doses of the vaccine will we need?
Well, none of the vaccines at this point appear like they'll work with a single dose. That was the hope at the very beginning. Maybe one of them, particularly in the second generation, won't surprise us. We hope just two, although in the elderly, sometimes it takes more. And so making sure we have lots of elderly people in the trial will give us that data.
You've said more than 7 billion doses. That's what we'll need.
Well, if what you're trying to do...
Well, I'm glad we have experts like him out there. He made me feel a lot better about getting COVID. Because that's when this whole lockdown fiasco will end, according to many of their reports and their own statements. Then we can all go back to normal. Isn't that nice?
The vaccine. It is fair to say things won't go back to truly normal until we have a vaccine that we've gotten out to basically the entire world. And so, you know, the best people at the foundation who are all about high volume vaccines, you know, are working with many manufacturers.
Well, thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Have a beautiful day. And I have a Patreon, patreon.com/raretalk, where I answer all questions if you'd like. If not, no worries. And my message to the media, to Facebook, to Twitter. First of all, God bless you guys. I appreciate you guys. But also, if you have a huge problem with what these doctors are saying, censoring them actually makes them bigger superstars and people will still see these videos. But why don't you debate them? Why don't you have other doctors and other experts who disagree with them have a conversation and debate with them instead of shutting them down? That would make a lot more people believe you, and it would be a lot more fair to the First Amendment of this country and to medical freedom in this country. It's not a dictatorship and a tyranny where one person gets to decide what everybody else thinks and does. And if you want to treat it that way, expect more and more people to push against the grain. That's my thoughts. Let me know yours. Have a good day. I'll be back with more videos.
Great stuff. So yeah, you can see that made a lot of sense. I mean, why censor? Why not just have debate? You know, well, because they'll be proven wrong in their own court of facts. Really, I just want to show you something real quick. Vaccine cost $19. Sorry, I should probably put COVID vaccine costs 19. Must include 19. I saw this came out just the other day. It was like the I forget which pharmaceutical company prepared it. But it was like $19.70 or something per dose. Well, even look at this, you know, new study finds COVID-19 diagnostic testing could cost, you know, billions, right? Someone's making money. Someone is making a lot of money. This stuff obviously costs money, but calculator. $19.25 times 7 billion. Oh, look, that's like $134 billion. So they want us to stay afraid because they want to make money off of us. And this is only part of it, friends. This is only part of it. The other things that they want to do, you'll find out in a couple weeks when we watch our actual episode on COVID-19. They want to make a whole bunch of money on a whole bunch of different things. All right, this one's done. So what I'm just going to show is, I'll show you the titles of some of the different videos for this evening so that you can see all the titles so you don't have to watch the whole thing. But this is Project Veritas again. So they are serious investigative researchers and journalists and a media group, and they uncovered just the worst stuff again and again and again. And they are just, they're never wrong. It's awesome. And they're verifiable, they're reliable. Anyways, leak. Googlers petition, so people at Google that work there, to end Google's business with Breitbart. We already looked at Breitbart. It's a conservative news outlet. 1,000 employees co-signed. So how many employees work at Google? You know? Gosh, to have them all jump on there to censor Breitbart from being able to show up in a Google search or whatever. Facebook insider receives anonymous call. Facebook Spox refuses to acknowledge a diversity initiative board. So they actually had a board for hiring that made sure people were diverse enough in order to be hired and stuff. Real skeezy. Facebook insider leaks docs, explains, so someone from Facebook, they leaked documents explaining deboosting, troll report, and political targeting in interviews. So they're trying to censor anything that opposes the leftist agenda for a one world government, and anything that's going to help that occur. Facebook insider, company suspended my account in H-1B policy document leak. Another Facebook insider details political censorship. Current human resources executive. This is awful. This woman laughs and goes, "No one has white man's back anymore." Like, you can tell she's trying not to say it, but then she does finally. I think because, well, you'll see. Current senior Google engineer goes public on camera. Technology is dangerous. Taking sides. Talking about Google. Google machine learning fairness. Okay, so they have this AI that is supposed to make the news that we see, or the search results we get on Google, fair, which means not supportive of conservatism, especially not Donald Trump. Whistleblower goes public, says the burden is lifted off of my soul. This is him here. Veritas re-uploads Google expose taken down by YouTube ahead of White House social media summit. So they were, I don't quite remember. I haven't watched this for quite some time now. Project Veritas features Pinterest insider speaks out. Quote, the tech companies can't fight us all. Re-uploaded and censored. Pinterest insider leaks documents. Live action banned. And there's a quote-unquote Bible for terms that they're censoring. So there you have it, friends. Social media is out to stop the conservative kind of return of the society and the culture, because they are so invested philosophically, financially, morally with the progressive agenda and the globalist one world government system. They think that this is going to bring they're doing this because either in their hubris, in their pride, they think that they can actually help facilitate a utopia, a world of peace, okay? By bringing everyone together in a one world government. That'll never happen. People always fight. That's an unfortunate part of our human nature. We've got to learn how to communicate. And dictatorships never stop violence and fighting. They just drive it into a different avenue. And then you still have civil wars and stuff. You'll still have all kinds of awful things happening. And frankly, the reason they're so opposed to Donald Trump, friends, is not because he called Rosie O'Donnell a pig or a dog, or he's made disparaging comments on Twitter about women over the last 8 years or whatever. They're doing it because he's the only leader of a nation, the most powerful nation, as we saw looking at the NATO expenditures. I was wrong. It wasn't the millions. It was like the billions or trillions of dollars that the U.S. was spending compared to Canada, where we spend like 60 billion a year or something. They cannot stand him because he's saying, look, America is a sovereign, independent nation. It's going to stay sovereign and independent. We're going to try and make America great again. People think that's a racist term. It's not. It's talking about, and people say, when was America ever great? When was America ever great? There obviously have always been issues with America, but throughout this time, there's been this sort of spirit or desire for America to advance technologically, educate people well, not indoctrinate them, but educate them so that they can think on their own and then contribute to society rather than just go along like sheep. They want to be the, exporters rather than be enslaved to nations like China, which is a horrible dictatorship. It's like what you would call a subtle dictatorship. I mean, not so subtle in some things. Some things are obviously overt. They have what's called the social credit system. Look into that. That's what they want to bring to the rest of the world through the whole COVID vaccine and identification, facial recognition tracking that they want to do to make sure, people with the vaccine have freedom of movement versus those that don't have it and everything. It's so crazy. I'm not getting the vaccine. The things I've heard, the potential is just shocking for what they could do. But so he is standing there with his administration and all of his voting support, and they hate that so much. That's why they keep pushing the Black Lives Matter thing to get people fighting and divided. In fact, to some extent, they're hoping for civil war because they know civil war would just cause such chaos for the nation. They're pushing the COVID thing because they want people fighting over that. How dare you not wear a mask? I hope you die of COVID. And it's like, look, if the mask is so great, you wear it. You wear it. You're fine. I'm the one that's going to get sick. If the vaccine's so great, you get it. You'll be safe. I'll be the one who dies. Don't worry about me. I don't care. But all the research is out. It's another thing Facebook censored. Was a video where an investigative journalist named Ben Swan looks at the reality that in the last 10 years. All the research on R95 or N95 masks and all of this would not stop viruses. They were useless, and in some respects would make a person even sicker by trapping the humidity. And then you had a study from just this year saying that surgical masks are not worn by surgeons in order to stop viruses. Okay? And that they don't. The only reason they're worn is to stop anything from the doctor getting in the wound, like saliva, if he drooled or whatever, or sneezed, or just from breathing, or anything from the patient squirting out into his face. That's it. They're not there to stop viruses. And these masks are taken off and thrown away if they get too sullied, and they're definitely thrown away after every surgery. Whereas people are wearing these things forever and ever, and they're making stuff out of like cotton at home that's fashionable, and it's not doing anything for them. Lost all my viewers. People don't want to watch this stuff. What time are we at here? 7:49. Well, we'll watch a couple of these things. I mean, it's just it blows me away. It's so sad. People are so brainwashed, so conditioned, so indoctrinated to just watch whatever. It's like it seems so fruitless. It's like, what's the point of this? You know, why bother trying to wake people up that don't want to be woken up? But I'll say it again. Once you understand that there's pedophile sex rings all over the world used by the elite, then you know, holy smokes, man, the same people that are pulling all the strings and have their fingers in all these pies, they're evil. So if they're evil, why would you think, well, they're disgusting, they're awful. I mean, gosh, they're raping kids, and they'd rape my kids if they could have a chance at it. But they do care about my health, and they want me to get a good COVID vaccine, and they want me to wear a mask. I'm going to be okay. Thank heavens for them. Here's Blake Lively, the actress. I guess she took a break from acting to have a baby, and then she realized, holy smokes, I've got to try and make society safer because I've got children, and I don't want them molested and trafficked. Blake Lively, child trafficking speech. Here you go. So here's Blake Lively. Variety magazine, guys. Not a friend of conservatism. But when it's so, like, not everything that the mainstream media puts out is going to be wrong. But, you know, they're going to, like, some stuff is so obvious they got to do something about it. And when one of your own is coming out, putting all this stuff out, talking about it, you got to give the dog a bone a bit. So here's Variety. Blake Lively gives emotional speech on child pornography. It's only 9 minutes. Go watch it. Then you've got the ITNJ, child trafficking. International Tribunal for Natural Justice. You got to check these people out. This board is made up of reputable people. Oh, great. Yeah. Well, forget that. One of the videos I saw just recently, I've only seen a couple. Oh, here we go. All right. Creepy alert from this person using their video. But, who do we got here? Well, anyways, you got this gentleman here. Chief Counsel Robert David Steele. He's ex-CIA. He's been involved in things all over the world. He knows what's going on. He's seen it all. He's blowing the whistle on this stuff. Another one, I don't know if he's with the ITNJ, but ex-CIA Kevin Shipp. Kevin Shipp. I searched Kevin Shipp debunked. I wanted to see, like, is this guy discredited at all? No. No, he's not. And, you know, he talks all about this stuff and divulges what's going on. The ITNJ, they, I saw one of their videos. They had a former Scotland Yard detective talking about what was really going on in London for the years he was serving. And Scotland Yard, if you're not familiar, is just like the police in Britain. I don't know why they're called Scotland Yard, but anyways, you know, apparently they're some of the best detectives in the world, and you know, a lot of how they do things, they helped teach other nations decades ago as other nations were establishing and trying to improve their detective agencies. And so this guy talked about how he got brought on to, I think it was actually the child abuse unit or whatever. And in the years past, there have been like 19 arrests or whatever. In the 2 months he was there, he made 90 arrests, and he found out that they were using the canal system because in London there are like 20 districts or whatever. And so people would move the children from one district to another during a kidnapping or something like that, or during the child trafficking, so that it would slow down any pursuit or whatever. And so these canals, some of them are as narrow as 3 meters. And so if you parked a boat right in the middle, you would jump on the boat and then jump off the other side, and you're in a different district. And after that, they said, well done, excellent job. We're now going to move you to child prostitution or something. And then he was doing really good, and he was finding out, in all of his years, he was finding out that these children were being trafficked oftentimes to very wealthy areas of town, very wealthy restaurants and clubs where the elite hung out. And they just, his own police chiefs and whatnot would sit him down and say, listen, you got to stop digging, okay? You're making people upset. We can't have it anymore. So they would shuffle him off to another place. And he wrote a very short report at one point. And, he got that shoved back in his face. Are you trying to make things difficult for us here? What are you trying to do? And it's like, I'm trying to do my job. I'm trying to protect kids. So, I mean, please, it's time to wake up. Some of the most powerful people in this world are despicable. And they're the ones formulating every decision that goes on. And so they're, the owners of Facebook and Google and whatnot, they're wealthy. They're a part of the problem, but they also have, they're also friends with people that are the problems. So, hey, how's it going, Trevor? Thanks for stopping by to show your support as usual. You know it all. You get it all. But I'm talking to the people that unfortunately don't. So let's watch this short video. Be brave. Do something, friends.
As we continue to scour the raft of internal Google documents that were leaked to us, we discovered these internal communications. The post is titled, quote, "Please join us in asking Google to remove ads from Breitbart.com." It is dated March 23rd, 2017.
Internal
Quote,
email.
"I'm sure most of you are aware of the extreme sexism that articles and comments on Breitbart disseminates. For this and many other reasons, my colleagues and I have drafted an internal letter to leadership asking them to end Google's business relationship with Breitbart."
Wow.
1,186 Googlers have co-signed the letter. A Google insider gave us this document. Can you tell us what this document shows?
So what this document shows is that some employees within Google are getting together a petition so that Google will ban Breitbart News from their ad networks in order to cut them off from the revenue stream.
So the document says that there are 1,186 Googlers co-signing on to this letter to, quote, end Google's business relationship with Breitbart and enforce the AdSense policies on prohibited content. 1,186. I mean, who are all these people?
These people are employees of Google, and they are unhappy with the election, and they're unhappy with the narratives that are being put out there that contradict the mainstream media's narrative.
Okay, here's another document that a Google insider gave to us. This one's about also Breitbart and Google ads holding the nose, looking through hate speech. Tell me what I'm looking at here.
What you're looking at is you're looking at Google intolerance. And what's really ironic here is that Google prides itself on inclusion and diversity. But what you see right here is actually an intolerance to inclusion and an intolerance to diversity. They're looking at this at Breitbart, and they're saying anyone who wants to hold their nose and look through Breitbart for hate speech.
Digging, trying to find it.
Inducing
not because it's obvious.
Action through their employees to express their intolerance to any sort of dissenting opinion.
This is important because Google claims protection under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Basically, they say they are impartial publishers of content and therefore not liable for any content they publish. But this document shows they are anything but impartial. All right, I'm going to look at another document that a Google insider gave to us. This one's entitled, quote, "It's time to remove Breitbart from AdSense." Tell me about what I'm looking at with this one.
So what you're seeing right here is you're seeing a document that is the actual petition to remove the Breitbart media group from their monetary stream through Google's AdSense.
We reached out to Breitbart, who had published a similar story in December of last year. But they were surprised by these documents, saying they showed a wider plot within Google to target them. Breitbart's comment: "This is more confirmation that Google is staffed by many left-wing activists with a totalitarian, un-American desire to silence, defund, and deplatform those with whom they politically disagree, or even make them feel the slightest bit uncomfortable. This is all about 2020. So it seems like this is something, these 1,186 people petitioning and all this stuff is stuff that didn't actually happen. But what does it tell us about Google or the culture at Google?
Well, this petition reflects the culture that Google has fostered, which has been hostile to real diversity and hostile to real inclusion, because what they're trying to create is a monoculture. And what you see with this document is a manifestation of that intolerance towards dissenting opinion.
Project Veritas has been invited to the White House Thursday of this week on the heels of this historic Google expose featuring a lot of your insider testimony. What message would you like me to deliver to the president on your behalf?
The message that I would give to Donald Trump is that these tech companies are dangerous, and also they may be selling our data to foreign intelligence services. This is something that needs to be asked to Google, is whether, like Facebook, they're selling our data to people that don't have America's best interest in mind. The second thing that I would say to Donald Trump is we don't need any more existing laws to fix this problem. We just need to enforce the laws that are currently on the books, especially Section 230.
Wow.
Hey, Andy.
I'm just going to read something real quick. Someone sent me over Facebook, and this sums up what is wrong with socialism. A man named Tom Nicholson posted on his Facebook account the sports car that he had just bought, and how a man approached and told him that the money he used to buy this car could have fed thousands of less fortunate people. This person obviously just virtue signaling. In fact, some people I meet that are socialists and or just whining about what people have and wanting to feed and take care of other people are also like some of the least giving people. Like I thank God have been able to give so much in the last 10 years since I had my heart changed and stopped thinking about myself. But I'm not a socialist. Why wouldn't I have become a socialist? It's because I actually care about people, and I know socialism does not actually help anyone. Anyways, his response to this man made him famous on the internet. Read his story as stated on Facebook below. A guy looked at my Corvette the other day and said, "I wonder how many people could have been fed for the money that sports car cost." I replied, "I'm not sure. It fed a lot of families in Bowling Green, Kentucky who built it. It fed the people who make the tires. It fed the people who made the components that went into it. It fed the people in the copper mine who mined the copper for the wires. It fed people at Caterpillar who make the trucks that haul the copper ore. It fed the trucking people who hauled it from the plant to the dealer, and fed the people working at the dealership and their families. But I have to admit, I guess I really don't know how many people it fed." That is the difference between capitalism and the welfare mentality. When you buy something, you put money in people's pockets and give them dignity for their skills. When you give someone something for nothing, you rob them of their dignity and self-worth. Capitalism is freely giving your money in exchange for something of value. Socialism is having the government take your money against your will and give it to someone else for doing nothing. So, like, I'm passing that on to you right now because that's a message that has to go out. I tell people all the time, if you care about people and you want to help people, stop voting in governments that want to tax us more and take our money away to do with what they think is most important. You yourself sacrifice your time and help people. Sacrifice your money and help people directly. That's the best way to do things, because giving up more and more of your hard-earned money to a government that's going to do things that, like so often, the bureaucracy is just bloated and ineffective and inefficient. And also, like, they do things that are completely unethical, and aren't morally sound. Why would you support such people? It's time to start voting for more freedoms, less taxation, and take personal responsibility. And what it said about dignity is so true. Like, so many people become so entitled and just ungrateful and thankless, rather than being really, and it's because their self-esteem is just bleeding out of them, year after year, month after month, year after year. They're like, I don't accomplish anything. I'm not adding to society. I'm just collecting social services. And they become resentful about everything. And so they just want more and more and more, thinking that that's going to be what makes them happy. When, one of the greatest things is actually a hard day's work and then getting your paycheck and going, wow, I earned this. And unfortunately, there's ungrateful people there too. Like where I worked, people were paid way more than they actually deserve for their skill level. And, oh my gosh, talking about going on strike and stuff. And it was like, you don't know how good you have it. You're making 5 times what I made in the army, and anyways, let's move on.
This is James O'Keefe with the Veritas.
That is a great message, Trevor. I agree.
Hey there. I know that we've given a comment to Megan on my team. It's just that we have a source in the company who, inside Facebook, who actually saw this on a server.
If there is anything more you can provide me to help me sort of run it down internally, I'm happy to do that. But if you can't, then the comment stands.
Is the diversity board not a real thing inside Facebook?
Here's the thing: if there are any more details that you can share, I'm happy to use those to try and run it down.
Here's James.
Hi, James. I'm sorry to be.
So why is Andy Stone, whose name popped up earlier with the whole censoring of Breitbart's doctor conference there, it'd be easy to understand at that position in the company. Yes, there's a diversity initiative board. No, there's not a diversity initiative board. Why is he misdirecting? Why is he asking for just more information, documents, leads? Because he wants to weed out someone in his company. Like, what a greasy slime ball. Why not just answer the question? Well, because he knows it's unethical.
Become extremely concerned. I just got a phone call from an unknown number, and the person on the line basically just said to me that they know that it was me, and that the document was not legitimate, and they want me to say that it was not, and to retract what I said.
This is their tactics, friends. Intimidation. That's why you got to be secure and know where you're going to spend eternity, because then you don't have to fear man.
Is that right?
Yeah, I don't think I should retract what I said, but I'm really concerned.
Poor guy, girl, whatever.
Tell me, did you know the name of the person?
No, it was an unknown number, and it was very uncomfortable.
Wow,
what did they
sad.
say exactly?
They said, is this I said, yes. They said, hi. We're aware that you've shared some documents. Yeah, those documents were not legitimate. You need to recant, you said. And I said, is that so? I think they are. And they said they're not. We informed you that you should definitely recant those. And that was it.
Really?
I said, okay, and then they hung up. I don't know who's doing what, but now I'm a little worried. The calls from unknown numbers a little extreme.
Well, that would be unnerving. That's why you gotta have a gun, and that's why if you're able to carry it concealed. Facebook Insider leaks documents, explains deboosting. This is important, friends. They take some opinions and they make sure they're not showing up. That's why I think my recent video performed so poorly because keywords were in it, and Facebook just made sure it wouldn't show up in people's timelines. So what happens is when you go live on Facebook, it should right away just pop up in people's timelines right away because they're trying to promote the whole live interaction thing. So boom, here you are. And when your friend opens their Facebook to their timeline to see what people are saying, it's just right there. But if they don't like what you're saying, they'll make sure it either doesn't pop up at all or pops up way down the list. It's just the way they're working. Troll report. I don't quite remember what that was about, but I can imagine. Anyways, we're going to find out. Man of ethics and integrity could really be seen in business and government. That would be huge. No kidding, you know. It is so sad how corrupt our governments are. All the cronyism between like evil, greedy corporatist types and the government and just, you know, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours kind of stuff, when it's like, no, what you should do is simply reduce the amount of regulations holding this company down. You know, make it good, make it fair, make it ethical in terms of the regulations. But no, what they want is they want more regulations on a company so that then the company has to beg and plead. And then they go, oh, okay, sorry. Well, like, for example, the whole carbon tax thing. That's one mechanism of controlling industries and corporations by saying, hey, you're putting out too much carbon dioxide. You got to pay us. Oh, okay, you don't want to pay us that much? Oh, well, then you got to do these sorts of favors for us. You know, it's disgusting. Lobby on our behalf to all of your employees, you know.
And I was a content review analyst for the intellectual property department at Facebook. I handled copyright and trademark claims. And in the course of doing my duties, I noticed other things that were going on accounts. And that is why I came forward. This is my story. Everyone is expected to be the same. Everyone's expected to not talk about these things openly. In the orientation at Facebook, they said the number one rule of Facebook is don't talk about Facebook. I see an odd note on an account. Being a curious person, I decided to look into it more.
Things will only change if we, the people, are brave enough to step forward and do something bold. They may be able to stop one man, but they can't stop all of us. Be a catalyst for change. Exactly. Wear a camera. Be brave. Do something. This Facebook insider contacted us some time ago and provided us with what she says are internal Facebook documents.
I saw things going on that I personally found to be troubling. I knew that something had to be done about it, and so I felt that the best thing to do was to inform the public because they had a right to know.
This is Danny Ben David, a software engineer. On his website, Ben David writes, I am now working at Facebook as a software engineer. I'm part of the problem, I know. In the leaked documents our insider gave us, we came across a back-end view of Mike Cernovich's page. On it, we could see Ben David running an action called Action Deboost Live Distribution. In fact, Ben David wrote the code and may have invented the word deboost. Who is Danny Ben David?
From my understanding, Danny Ben David is a software engineer at Facebook. He did not work at the same location as me, but I noticed that every time I would see this deboost live stream kind of code on there, that his name was always next to it.
And
holy smokes, what were we talking about earlier, friends, when we opened? Deboosting live streams. Hello. I'm not even Mike Cernovich. He's a huge, I think he's an investigative journalist from, I don't know. Look him up. But look him up. He's probably saying things we need to hear. I'm just a guy, but clearly it's the keywords I put in my description.
What does it mean when these documents say action deboost live distribution? What does the term deboost mean?
While I can't speak to what exactly the actions were. When it says reduce live distribution, I'm not a programmer,
Right.
but I can read English just fine. When I see reduce live distribution, it means preventing the distribution of this live feed.
Deboosting is a method of suppressing distribution. This occurs because prompts such as share this video are disabled. Interactive notifications are also disabled. And the
There you go.
live feed boost associated with a live streaming video on Facebook is removed. The system converts the live video into text. Machine learning classifies or identifies certain words, and bad words trigger deboosting. Action deboost appears after the word
COVID-19,
which Project Veritas has learned is an artificial intelligence system to block potential suicide and self-harm posts.
Oh,
The
wow, we
Sigma
don't want
code
that.
was written in 2017, and shortly thereafter, it seems deboost went political. And where did you see this deboost language when you were present in the Facebook facility? Where did you see this appear, on whose pages?
I would see it appear on several different conservative pages.
Conservative!
I first noticed it with an account that I can't
Why?
remember, but I remember once I started looking at it, I also saw it on Mike Cernovich's page, saw it on Steven Crowder's page,
Steven
as well
Crowder!
as the Daily Caller's page.
The Daily
We spoke to
Caller!
Steven Crowder about this, and he was disappointed but not surprised. He told us that this is not the first time Facebook has targeted him. After an April 2016 Gizmodo article, Crowder's live stream was dethrottled. He settled with Facebook out of court.
So when things are taken down and like actually permanently deleted from Facebook, the user will typically get a notification. The user can respond to those notifications, and there are humans that actually read that. However, with these deboost live stream things, there was no warning sent to the user. These were actions that were being taken without the users knowing.
Did any of this show up on the task version of the Facebook back end? Did it show up anywhere there?
No, no tasks were created when these live stream deboosts would occur.
The story of using certain keywords to demote or downrank certain content is not unfamiliar. We exposed similar activities at Twitter during our investigation of them last year.
Just go to a random tweet and just look at the followers. It'll all be like guns, God, America, and with the American flag and
Oh, you wouldn't want that.
Well, Senator, our goal is certainly not to engage in political speech.
In April 2018, Facebook
Liar.
CEO Mark Zuckerberg was grilled by the Senate over these very notions, but with no actual proof.
Overall, I want to make sure that we provide people with the most voice possible. I want the widest possible expression, and I don't want anyone at our company to make any decisions based on the political ideology of the content.
What Zuckerberg
Lying
says
before
in front of the
Congress
Senate is completely different
before the Senate
than what is actually happening, according
should
to
get
the
you
inside.
put in jail.
Do you think that Mark Zuckerberg knows about this activity?
Now, I do not know what Mark Zuckerberg does or does not know. However, what I can say is that at some point, he does need to know what's going on with the company.
Has Facebook ever admitted publicly that they've done this, to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Did you check pages of people who are not conservative to see what it said?
Yes. At first, I was wondering whether this is something that I had, a couple working theories. I was like, maybe this is an independent versus mainstream thing. Maybe independent figures on the left are experiencing the same kind of deboosting.
Right, you would expect. No, of course not.
I looked at the Young Turks page. I looked at Colin Kaepernick's page. None of them had received the same deboost comment on their account.
Is this your name right there? Danny Ben David. iAction deboost live distribution. We'd like to talk to you about why this code shows up on all of these pages. And I can give these to you. Yeah. Any other comment?
You're James O'Keefe?
I'm James O'Keefe, yes. Okay.
That's the comment?
Not much luck in talking to Mr. Ben David. This is Seiji Yamamoto, data science manager for Facebook since 2015. Yamamoto has had some significant duties. He has worked on informed sharing ranking demotion and the newsfeed reduction strategy. On Facebook's private workplace, Yamamoto makes it clear that he is on a crusade against hate speech. However, his definition of hate speech is troubling. Quote,
right.
Hate speech needs to be stopped, but there's quite a bit of content near the perimeter of hate speech that we need to address as well, unquote.
Like opposing globalism.
What does he mean by perimeter of hate speech?
Things that aren't actually hate speech, but that might offend
I like
somebody.
guns. People should have the right to
anything
bear arms.
that is perceived as hateful, even though no court would define it as hate speech.
You got it,
So
Trevor.
there was another document, as I was kind of researching through the workplace function of Facebook, which is the internal Facebook, as you will. I came across a document called Coordinated Trolling on Facebook. And it was this troll report where they wanted to address the problem of trolls on the platform and what they could do to combat it.
Seiji Yamamoto and Eduardo Arino de la Rubia are the authors of that troll report.
And so I was looking through this document, and it was clearly kind of designed at the aim to be the right-wing meme culture that's become extremely prevalent in the past few years. And some of the words that appeared on there were using words like SJW. You know, no person on the left talks about SJWs. That's what people on the right say. The MSM for the mainstream media. Once again, the New York Times doesn't talk about the MSM. The independent conservative outlets are using that language.
In Yamamoto's troll presentation deck, he writes that they have a classifier that predicts if a user is a troll. The term troll refers to an internet troublemaker. Listing flagged words such as cuck, normie, lulz, and even MSM, or mainstream media, and others to identify trolls. It's clear that Facebook is targeting the language of the right and using it to actively suppress their content. The perimeter of hate speech, indeed. The Yamamoto
I hope this bothers
glossary is clearly ant-right.
They're shifting the goalpost. You know, it's one thing if you're dropping the N-word or, you know, things like that, using some kind of homophobic or racial slur, by all means, you know, that's something that a platform should not want on it. But now you're moving it to things like jokes that conservatives tend to make. And this, like I said, it's based largely around this meme culture. So now you're saying what jokes you are and aren't allowed to make, what kind of edgy comment. As long as it's not blatantly hateful, I don't see where Facebook has the right to be the arbiter.
Especially when they claim to be
Facebook define trolling and hate speech
unbiased
as,
and a
in
free
one
form,
slide from Yamamoto's deck,
so that
he
they're
writes,
protected.
Trolls are involved in many destructive behaviors on Facebook. Yamamoto then lists one example, writing, red-pilling normies to convert them to their worldview, with a link to a YouTube video by Lauren Chen called Why Social Justice is Cancer.
In this video, I would like to talk about why social justice as an ideology is so very toxic.
This is Facebook's definition of destructive behavior. This constitutes as hate speech and trolling. Yamamoto goes on to describe other methods of combating hate speech. He writes, introducing friction via the troll twilight zone will confuse and demoralize them. On his next slide, he defines the troll twilight zone, saying it will enact, quote, drastically limited bandwidth, auto logouts, and
I've had this
comments
happen to
and
me.
posts will magically fail to upload, unquote.
It
Just
is
below this,
frustrating.
Yamamoto writes that his troll twilight zone feature will be triggered, quote, leading up to important elections, unquote. Wow. Do you think they're trying to influence elections?
Absolutely. I do think, even if that's not their stated intent, I think like many people, they believe that the 2016 election of Donald Trump was a fluke. It was something that shouldn't have happened. It happened because all these trolls were sharing,
memes,
anti-Hillary memes. And meme culture, in their opinion,
really,
is
it's
what
because
won Donald Trump the presidency, and so it's in
people
their
want
interest
freedom,
as a very
not to be
homogenous
censored.
company to kind of shut this down.
Another tactic that Yamamoto describes sounds like outright bullying. Quote, when a user does something egregious warranting an account suspension or deletion, we should notify the friend network. Fear of being outed as a miscreant is what regulates behavior in real life.
They're doing this in China already, okay, along with the social credit system. When people do things that are unpopular, they publicly shame them and they notify friends in hopes that social pressure will bring the person back in line. And we're not talking about someone being an axe murderer or a pedophile. We're talking about people saying something disparaging against the Communist Party of China.
And we should reintroduce that to the online world, unquote. It appears that Facebook is muzzling users to peer pressure them into changing their political ideology. When Project Veritas showed Tactic 2 from the troll report to another Facebook insider, the insider thought this was particularly egregious. Some people in Facebook might say that these trolling documents were just wishful thinking, that they were an intended plan that was never implemented.
No, it happens.
What's your response to people who say that?
Well, it's very possible and even likely that not every measure has been implemented. Mm-hmm. There were measures in that document that I did see implemented.
Like which ones?
For instance, they talk about assigning a troll score to accounts. So Facebook has what's called the fake account index, where they assign a score which helps them to determine whether the account is a real person or just a dummy spam account. And so, rightfully so, they want to delete those accounts.
You would think.
That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Except the truth is, friends, every day or two, I get another friend request from someone with a foreign male name whose profile images are of, young, attractive women, and the first posts are always invitation to go watch porn. And then so I was, for a long time, I would report every one of those profiles, but you can only do so many before you get tired of it, because I would get a report back from Facebook saying, thanks so much. We investigated this and we don't think it goes against any of our community guidelines. So they would keep up these fake porn promotion profiles. Okay, why? Well, for one, you may not understand this, but the spirit behind these evil globalists and whatnot who want to demoralize society, they want as many people addicted to porn as possible, because they know if that destroys a society and makes it easy pickings for takeover. Because when you feel like riddled by guilt and shame, you're less likely to actually stand up for what's right. And then the other reality is Facebook wants as many profiles as possible so that it looks like it's just so huge and such a big part of the, what's going on in the globe. So they want more profiles. They used to delete those accounts. I would get a report back saying, thanks for your help. We got rid of that account. That person's obviously fake. But nope, not anymore. It's awful. Now I just delete them and mark them as spam.
They created the troll score so they could help identify using parameters such as words that they would post, pictures, if they were friends with other trolls, and then using that determine whether this person should be on the platform or not.
So why is this troll score a bad thing?
It's a bad thing because there's no accountability, and especially when they're using machine learning to do this. Mm-hmm. Whenever an individual actions an account, there is a process where at least you can send a message to Facebook. Most of the time it falls on deaf ears. Mm-hmm. However, this is all being done without the user's knowledge. There's no recourse for them. And it's being done without, on public figures like Mike Cernovich, Steven Crowder.
We asked Yamamoto about the insider actually seeing a troll score under the fake account.
So this is how good these investigative journalists are at Project Veritas. How the heck do they keep finding these people, like, out in the street, you know? That's amazing. Oh, gosh. Rarely do you see this from other journalists. Of course, you wouldn't see mainstream media questioning these guys. Rarely, anyways. And when they do, the story dies in one night, you know? This just in, Scotland Yard detective uncovers pedophile ring. Oh, it's awful. Okay, bye. Let's never talk about this again. Let's get back to Black Lives Matter and COVID.
Count Index and CRT, Facebook's back-end content review tool.
You actually created this report, did you not?
I don't actually have any comment on any of this.
Yamamoto issued a no comment and fled the scene.
I think the biggest thing is that getting the documents, getting video or, still pictures of what was going on, that shows that it actually is happening. This isn't rumors. They talk about how right-wingers they come up with all these crazy theories, and that's not actually happening at these social media companies. They poo-poo it. Yeah. But here it is, and it's in your face.
Oh.
After leaving her employment at Facebook, the insider came to work for Project Veritas.
Wow, man. Huge.
2 days after the Twitter story had launched, I came to work just like I normally would. And my manager says, we need to talk with you. And not thinking it was a big deal, I go and I set down my bag and I go to a conference room.
Yes, Trevor, you're so right,
and
man.
they told me that I was being terminated.
Did they give you a reason?
No. I was never given a reason. I asked them, I said, can I ask why I'm being terminated? And they told me, we don't know.
Did you find anything about the timing of this suspicious?
Oh, absolutely.
What was suspicious about it?
What was suspicious was that it was 2 days after Project Veritas released their Twitter videos.
And why would that be an interesting connection?
Because at that point, the company knew that Project Veritas wanted to investigate the issue of censorship in big tech.
And how would they know that you had anything to do with this, if they did know?
I think it's because you and I had some contact.
Okay. And at the time that your termination with Facebook occurred, were you a full-time employee with Project Veritas?
No, I was not employed in any way, shape, or form with Project Veritas. My father asked me, well, was it worth it?
Mm-hmm. Was it?
Yes. And I told him there was
That's integrity,
not
friends.
even a moment of hesitation.
That's character.
Because I knew what I had seen.
Sacrificing for what is right.
And the fact that it was so egregious that they wouldn't even tell me why I was being terminated just reconfirmed that this is something they were trying to keep in the shadows, that they did not want the public to know, and yet
they don't even want her being able to tell the
Project
public
Veritas
why
has
she was
learned that as
fired.
late as last week on this workplace back end of Facebook, there were executives and officials talking about the need to not reward divisive content. We're not sure what divisive means,
And
but
whatever
also
they
saying
wanted
that we
to.
need to promote publishers which are aligned with the mission of Facebook, promote publishers who promote content which is aligned with the mission of Facebook. But as long as there is a conflict in the values of Facebook as it relates to the First Amendment and being a public town square,
Exactly.
as long as that exists and as long as there are human beings in rooms which make determinations, there are always going to be the types of abuses that this insider talks about. Now, as it relates to this insider, she says she made enormous sacrifice. She said it was worth it. We need people like her. We need people to follow her example, to step up, be brave, do something, and wear a camera. It's enormously inspiring what she did, and I hope many other people follow in her footsteps. We need you to come forward. We need you to wear a camera. Reporting from Menlo Park, California, outside of Facebook headquarters, this is James O'Keefe with Project Veritas.
So the way it works in the United States and in many countries is places like Facebook, YouTube, whatever, they're supposed to be protected by law as open forums where you have free speech. You can say whatever as long as you're not inciting violence. And, well, that's pretty much it. it's supposed to just be you can't incite violence. Now they're saying, oh, everything's hate speech. So if you say something that someone doesn't like and that person arbitrarily says that's hate speech, then there's going to be problems. And that's why, frankly, even hate speech should be permitted to some extent, as long as it's not inciting violence directly. Unfortunately, they say they're arguing, and they were arguing in Canada too, that hate speech always leads to violence. So you got to stop it. But it's just ridiculous, because if you can have open forum, then there's debate, and people hopefully will see they'll see how stupid the wrong position is. Just like with the COVID-19 thing. Why are they censoring videos? Why are they shutting down everything? Why not just have debate? Why not have it up there for everyone to look at? It's because, it goes against the agenda. They're trying to push the whole COVID vaccine thing. And then they say, and then behind closed doors, if they're going to say anything other than, oh, well, we're trying to protect our agenda, which they're not going to say except in the closest of secret circles, they would say, well, people don't know what's good for them. We don't want people buying a lie and then getting hurt and hurting others. But anyways, so it's supposed, the protected under law is open forums, which means then they should not be editorializing. They should not be skewing information one way or the other. But that's what they're doing. And so doing that is illegal, and they should be punished for it. I can't believe that they've not been slapped down harder and harder for all this garbage. So you have to understand, friends, if Facebook and Google and YouTube and everything could keep pushing a narrative that the sky is actually fuchsia all the time, or purple. Let's say purple. The sky is purple. The sky is purple. Eventually, people would believe it. Oh, I should show that video. It's so frightening. It's so awful. It's about sheep herd mentality of people. But so if they can keep exposing you to the same ideas again and again, the ideas they want you to believe in, unfortunately, a lot of people will break down and go, oh, yeah, okay, that's true. Yeah, okay. And they won't weigh it critically and say, is that really true? Does that really make sense? And eventually you have the majority of people saying, oh yeah, didn't you know the sky's purple? Of course, we can objectively and very easily look at the sky and say, no, it's blue, and sometimes it's red or whatever, due to, what time of the day it is. But with things like, them trying to push this leftist progressive garbage on you, and silence and censor conservative ideas, man, unless people are students of history and really doing their research, it's very easy to be taken over by that. Let's see if I can find this video. I'm sure I saved it, so I'm just going to show this. And you got to watch this. This is the most horrifying thing. Show it, Trevor says. You mean like peaceful protests in Portland and Seattle? Oh, yeah, exactly. Just what a tragic lie. And you got all these people saying, oh, it's so evil. The government's like setting up a secret operation with the police and the military, and they're going hard on the people or whatever. And it was actually because every night the protesters were like vandalizing the courthouse and like setting it on fire and everything. And it's like, yeah, you better stop that. Oh, that's an ad. Wireless Bluetooth earbuds. Cool. Okay. I'm going to play this and I'll be right back. I'm just going to use the wall. This is honestly frightening. This is the kind of stuff, friends, that leads to a Holocaust. Seriously, I am not exaggerating. I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not going to extremes in what I'm saying here. This is what leads to a Holocaust. When people cannot think, cannot be thinking critically, and they just go along to get along, and eventually you've got this crap. What is going on with my internet now? Okay. Come on.
Usually by this point in a president.
Oh my gosh, what is happening? Oh, this is the interview I was talking about with the Scotland Yard guy. Just hideous. Okay, so I don't know why it was jumping around my videos, but here we are.
To answer that question, we set up a hidden camera experiment to see if this woman would stand up at the sound of this tone, simply because everyone else is. You might be thinking you'd never go along with this. Or would you? After just 3 beeps, and without knowing why she's doing it, this woman is now conforming perfectly to the group. But what happens if we take the group away?
Elaine, please.
Okay, now she's alone. The crowd is gone and nobody is watching her, except our hidden cameras. What do you think she'll do? She's now conforming to the rules of the group without them even being there. Now, watch what happens when we introduce another outsider who doesn't know the rules.
Have a seat and they'll be out in just a couple minutes. Thanks so much. Everybody was doing it, so I thought I was supposed to.
Think she'll teach the new guy what to do? We kept the cameras rolling as more unsuspecting patients arrived. And slowly but surely, what began as a random rule for this woman has now become the social norm for everyone in this waiting room. Here to explain what's going on in their brains is Jonah Berger of the University of Pennsylvania.
This sort of internalized form of herd behavior is part of what we call social learning. Starting at a very early age, when we see members of our group perform a task, our brains literally reward us for following in their footsteps.
When I saw everybody stand up, I felt like I needed to join them. Otherwise, I'm like excluded. Once I decided to go with it, then I felt much more comfortable.
Conformity is how we become socialized, but it can also cause us to develop bad habits or repeat past wrongs.
And it's why even this rebel, who wasn't standing for any of this nonsense, eventually joined the ranks. And the only thing more shocking than seeing how easily conformity affects the way you act.
Oh, wow, it's just, yeah.
Is that similar forces are subconsciously shaping the way you think.
Puke. There's no way I would be standing up. Because you know what I would do, friends? In my life, since truth has been revealed to me, now I ask, well, is this true? Does this make sense? And if I'm confused, I start to dig. I start to find out. If I was in a waiting room for my doctor or whatever, and that was going on, I would, like they did, why are you standing up? Everyone was. Immediately I would say, Okay. So then I would try and find a higher authority, the receptionist. Excuse me, I'm just curious. Why are we standing up when the buzzer goes off? And if it's a setup for an experiment, that's when she would either divulge, well, this is just a social experiment to see what people do. So yeah, we're just playing a buzzer, and the first group was a control group, all standing up to condition one person to stand up, and now that person's actually conditioning everyone else to stand up, and everyone's just going along with it. I would say, holy smokes, that is so creepy. Well, okay, thank you. And then I would sit down and not stand up. Or they would just simply lie in order to keep the thing going, except then that would break down the experiment. They could say, oh, it's just, we believe in, I don't know, promoting blood circulation. So every 1 minute we have people standing. Oh, okay, fine. I'll actually, I probably still wouldn't. I'd just be like, that's preposterous. Preposterous? How's that word? Preposterous. Let's look it up. This is important. See? I don't know something. I'm going to look it up. Preposterous. Yeah. That's preposterous. It's contrary to reason or common sense, utterly absurd or ridiculous. I would be like, yeah, thanks. I'm just going to keep sitting down. You have to understand something, friends. So, in Christendom, okay, you had the Roman Catholic Church that developed in like the 3rd or 4th century, and it just grew and grew in power and more control, and they distorted more and more teachings from the Bible. It was satanic, honestly, and I'm sorry if you're Catholic, you've just got to start reading the Bible and praying for yourself and ask God to help you understand. In the 16th century and leading up to it, you had a lot of people starting to question whether or not what they were being taught by the Roman Catholic Church was true or not. And eventually you had someone named Martin Luther, who in, I think, 1535 nailed 95 theses to like a bulletin board on one of the churches for everyone in the community to see it and for the church to answer these questions. And really what he was trying to help people understand was, clearly the Bible teaches that people are saved not by works, not by sacraments, not by rites or rituals done in the Catholic Church, but simply by grace through faith in what Jesus has done for our sins, and that he rose again, conquering death. And so out of that, because he was in Germany, came eventually what was called the Lutheran denomination. Okay, so in Germany, they have this massive tradition of people being Lutherans, people that followed Martin Luther's teaching. And obviously that element was definitely true. Eventually you would have Lutherans gathering on Sundays, worshiping and listening to sermons while Hitler was in power, and they would hear the whistle of the trains going by towards the camps to deliver more Jews or undesirables to the concentration camps, and they would sing all the louder to drown out the sound. How the heck do people who should know better go along with something so evil? And friends, this isn't conspiracy theory. They are wicked people pulling the strings above us and above our governments, and they don't have our best interests at heart. And socialist, Marxist, globalist systems are not good, and we're going to find ourselves in a horrible place. And because people are sheep going along with what society is doing rather than asking questions, digging, researching, and sharing, this kind of information, we're going to see ourselves lose all of our freedoms, and it's going to be horrible. And like I've said before, I don't care about my own life. I'm fine going to the camps. I'm fine being imprisoned. It's okay. But I'm concerned for my neighbors. I'm concerned for other people. And that's why I sacrifice Tuesday evenings to share this information. Here's another one from Facebook.
Recently, an employee of Facebook came to us with what he said was an internal
Had 5 viewers, lost everybody.
Facebook document. Facebook says the document is, quote, not authentic. Our Facebook insider stands by his claim that it is. We believe, at the very least, there are many questions about this document and Facebook's actions after learning we had acquired it, which includes retaliation against at least one Facebook employee for document security. Facebook now needs to answer for some of these questions. Facebook is saying this document is not real. In fact, their spokesperson says that, quote, this is not an authentic document. Your response to that?
It obviously from an authentic source, which leads me to believe it is an authentic document. Maybe the people who are speaking do not know of it, but it is definitely there.
Can you speak a little more specifically to how you obtained it? Like, in other words, it was observed on the server, or so there was some type of email exchange that occurred?
Yes, I happened to obtain it through an email that was sent, that happened to also be sent to me as well, in a way, and I received it that way. Yes, so I can't tell exactly what department it would have came from, but it's addressed definitely to the human resources.
It was addressed to human resources?
Yes.
And it was from an email marked *@facebook.com.
Yes.
So, one more time, do you believe that this document is an authentic Facebook internal document?
I believe it is.
Okay.
I do. I have no reason to not believe it. From what I've looked at it, it looks authentic to me based on other documents that are around. I'm not sure where else it could have been or where else it could have come from.
Even what you just said, we'll blur everything, make sure you're protected. So what happened today with the thing you just showed me? What did they do to you in that screenshot? They suspended you? Tell me about that.
Yes. So initially, I went in, I was able to get to try and confirm the documents. After I looked into it, I was able to see that I no longer had access to the system. I reached out to the IT department to see what was going on. They did not respond to me, but I did receive an email from an HR contact point shortly after, informing me that my access had been suspended to the system.
All right, friends, I think I'm going to end it there. It's been almost 2 hours, and yeah, I think we've shared enough information, but we already went through all of these videos so that people could see the titles and look them up themselves. Here's the title for this one: Facebook Insider, Company Suspended My Account in H-1B Policy Document Leak. I think this had to do with the document leak about the diversity initiative board or whatever, to make sure they're hiring the right people that they want. And then here's all of them again. Another Facebook insider details political censorship. Current human resources executive says no one has the white man's back. Yeah, this guy here, he was actually also on Rebel Media, talking about how social media was intruding in our last election. So this is not just an American problem. And here's the exec talking, and once she realizes, once she feels out that she thinks she can say this atrocious thing in front of these other guys speaking, she says, well, yeah, no one has the white man's back anymore. Meaning, the slightest infraction, a white guy's going to be fired. Just really gross. Current senior Google engineer goes public on camera. The technology is dangerous and they're taking sides. This is Google, our most widely used search engine. Google machine learning fairness. Whistleblower goes public, says burden is lifted off of my soul. These people aren't all conservatives necessarily. They have a conscience, and they're seeing what's happening and how dangerous it is, which is why we did a video not long ago about people leaving the left, because they realize the progressive leftist agenda is actually moving us towards the complete stripping of our freedoms and complete like control over us. And they're like, ooh, this is actually really dangerous. I want to, you know what? I think I'll conserve freedom. And then we have Veritas re-uploads Google expose taken down by YouTube ahead of White House social media summit. Project Veritas features Pinterest insider speaks out, quote, the tech companies can't fight us all. That's the truth, friends. We all got to get together, band together, and resist this stuff, get the information out. They are trying to condition us to all think the same way and march in lockstep towards our own freedoms being taken away in a one-world government system. Re-uploaded and censored, Pinterest insider leaks docs, live action banned, and their quote-unquote Bible of terms that they've censored over at Pinterest. So there you have it, friends. That's everything for tonight's stream. I really hope that video about the sheep was as disconcerting to you as it is to me, that it's just so easy for people to go along in the conditioning. But yeah, share this stuff with everybody you know. You don't have to share my videos. I don't care. My commentary is pretty extraneous. I'm basically just saying the same things other people are saying in the videos, trying to highlight certain points. But yeah, everyone's smart enough they can figure all this stuff out as they just watch it and think about it. And it's not good. But I did mention really briefly just, what was going on with the Lutherans in Germany who were turning an eye to everyone being shipped off to the concentration camps because it wasn't them. And that is just so awful. But nevertheless, what Martin Luther had realized is the truth. And I'm just going to really quickly, actually, I'll show everyone real quick just my under construction website, hehasanswers.com. And there's an invitation for people to seek the only person who can help us in all of this time. An invitation because you have questions and he has answers. I meet people all the time. They have questions they wish they could ask God. And this is a place where they can, provided they are humble in their seeking, they will receive answers. And also for anyone who looks at this and says, well, this can't be true, it's from the Bible, I'm currently completing a free PDF of a book that helps people see the Bible is undeniably, with evidence, beyond a reasonable doubt, the Word of God. And it's the way to know God. And He's good and He wants a relationship with us. You can read it online and download the PDF, or you can listen to a very rough recording of me reading through it. It's huge. It's a journey. But believe me, you go through it, you got two choices. You either humbly say, okay, God, that you must be true. Reveal yourself to me. Help me to know you so that I can be saved and have a relationship with you. Or two, just say, you know what? You're clearly real. Screw you. I don't care. Which is not the right choice. But there's only two. The evidence is just so overwhelming. It looks at science, archaeology, textual sciences of the actual texts, prophecy, just everything. It's incredible. And I'm really thankful I've been able to do that. But I'm going to close by asking that very being, God, who's revealed himself through Jesus Christ, the image of the invisible God, for help in these times. Because, friends, if he doesn't step in and help us by using us or even just doing things supernaturally, sovereignly, we are headed towards an awful, awful fate. So, without further ado, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this evening that we could just come together and watch these sources. Lord God, you are a God of truth. You're a God of transparency. You are a God who says that you hate when people bear false witness, and you want fairness, you want justice, and you want truth to be out there. And Lord, look what's going on. And you see what's going on in Facebook and Google and YouTube and all the social media, and just all the deception. And they're pushing us towards a one world system which will not give you the due honor you deserve. It'll be a socialist system that worships the government and thinks the government is savior. I pray, Lord, that you would help people see the truth, and that we would come together and resist this in a good, peaceable way that honors you, and that stands up for justice and helps protect people before it's too late. Most importantly, Lord, I pray that people will know you and seek you out and understand that in spite of our sinfulness, you love us because you made us and you made us to know you. And you've made a way that we can know you by being forgiven of our horrible sins as we repent and turn to you and follow Jesus. So I pray that people would ask you questions. And I pray that people would understand what's going on. And I pray that people would have the courage to share this information. In Jesus' name, amen. God bless you, everybody. Have a good night.